Before armies clashed steel, they clashed imagination, and the most terrifying weapon was often not a sword, but a camp that seemed alive at night. Because, at first glance, a camp is innocence made visible. Tents, smoke, movement, firelight trembling against canvas, the sounds of labor, the clatter of pots, the cough of horses, the low rhythm of drums. To a distant observer, all of it says one thing: humans are here, and they are ready to endure. But in war, the camp is never just a shelter. It is a message written in light and shadow. It tells the enemy where you are, how many you may be, whether you are confident, whether you are afraid, and whether you are lying. That is why feigned retreat became one of history's most brutal psychological weapons. The goal was not merely to escape. It was to pull the enemy forward, to tempt them into a fatal assumption, and then to destroy them with the one thing soldiers are least prepared to fight: uncertainty. An empty camp is a mirror. It reflects the attacker's greed, arrogance, and hunger for easy victory. They rush in expecting spoil, and instead find silence. That silence is the first wound. In the ancient world, armies learned that discipline collapses when certainty collapses. If your scouts cannot trust their eyes, if your commanders cannot trust the retreat, if your troops cannot tell whether the fire before them is real or staged, the battlefield becomes a theater of suspicion. Every shadow becomes an ambush. Every abandoned tent becomes a trap. The enemy starts fighting ghosts before the real army even arrives. The masters of this craft understood one core truth: humans do not react to reality alone. They react to expectation. If you can shape what the enemy expects, you can guide their feet, their fear, and ultimately their death. The Mongols turned this into a system. They were not just horsemen, they were engineers of panic. A retreat by the Mongols was rarely a retreat in the ordinary sense. It was choreography, a broken line that was not broken, riders who scattered only to regroup, fires left burning in camps that had been abandoned hours earlier, drums beaten at distance so the enemy would believe the army still sat in place. At night, multiple campfires multiplied their numbers. 1,000 men could appear to be 10,000. Tents could be arranged in rows that suggested a larger force than reality supported. The enemy, peering through dust and darkness, saw not a camp, but an empire of fear. Then came the silence. When dawn broke and the fires were cold, confusion spread faster than cavalry. If the enemy moved too aggressively, they were lured into pursuit. If they advanced cautiously, they surrendered initiative. Either way, the Mongols had already chosen the terms of battle. This was not cowardice. It was high-level control of tempo. Feigned retreat weaponized the mind's worst instinct: the desire to believe what is easiest to understand. An enemy running away seems like an answer, but in war, easy answers are often bait. The clever commander does not ask, "Where is the enemy?" The real question is, what does the enemy want me to believe? Across centuries and continents, the same logic returned in different forms. Hannibal at Cannae used movement to distort Roman confidence. Steppe armies used dust and distance to make numbers uncertain. Nomadic warfare, in particular, excelled at making presence feel larger than life. A few mounted archers could become a phantom host if they controlled sightlines, timing, and morale. False fires were especially powerful. Fire is civilization's oldest signal. It means safety, warmth, routine, home. In war, it means the opposite. Someone is there, awake, alert, alive. So when an army leaves behind burning braziers, cooking pits, or torches on ridges, it is creating the illusion of continuity. The enemy reads the glow and assumes the army remains in place. Meanwhile, the real force has already vanished into terrain, darkness, or a prearranged killing ground. Silent drums worked in a more sinister way. Drums are usually about cohesion. They tell soldiers how to move, when to charge, when to hold. But silence can be just as tactical. A camp that suddenly falls quiet suggests discipline, confidence, and hidden purpose, or it suggests abandonment. And that ambiguity is poisonous. The enemy, unable to decode the absence of sound, begins to imagine the worst. Are they asleep? Are they ambushed? Are they circling us? Are they already behind us? That is the dark genius of phantom camps. They do not merely hide reality. They manufacture alternate realities. They make the battlefield feel haunted. Men who march into such landscapes are no longer confronting a foe. They are confronting their own interpretations, and interpretations can kill faster than blades. But the reason this tactic endured is not because humans were stupid. It endured because humans are pattern-seeking creatures trapped inside anxiety. The brain hates ambiguity. In the middle of war, ambiguity becomes unbearable. Every abandoned tent becomes evidence. Every leftover fire becomes a story. Every drumbeat, or the lack of one, becomes intelligence. Commanders who understood this could break armies without full contact. They used the camp as a psychological siege weapon. When the enemy believed they had found weakness, they overextended. When they believed the retreat was real, they abandoned formation. When they believed the camp was still occupied, they hesitated. And hesitation in war is death by inches. The most effective deceptions also respected the enemy's expectations. A phantom camp had to look imperfect enough to be believable. Too neat and it feels staged, too empty and it feels suspicious. The best deception sits inside the zone of plausibility. One extra set of tracks, one cooking fire still smoking, one drum left echoing over a hill. These are not grand lies. They are small lies arranged with mathematical cruelty. This is why feigned retreat was often paired with terrain. Valleys, forests, river crossings, deserts at dusk, places where visibility fails and imagination expands. The enemy advances into a landscape that no longer feels neutral. It feels inhabited by intention. They are no longer chasing an army. They are entering a story someone else has written for them. And yet the deepest horror of phantom camps is not the deception itself. It is what they reveal about war. War is never only about destroying bodies. It is about controlling perception before bodies collide. If you can make the enemy believe they are already losing, you may not need to destroy them in the open at all. This is why these tactics remain relevant even in modern form. Today, the battlefield includes signals, screens, drones, decoys, electronic falsehoods, and information operations. The empty camp has evolved, but the principle remains brutally consistent. Shape what the enemy thinks they see, and you shape what they do. The first casualty is certainty. The second is morale. The third is command. The old armies knew something modern warfare still cannot escape. A soldier is not only a weapon, he is a nervous system under pressure. He is a creature that hears drums in the dark and fills the darkness with meaning. Feigned retreat and phantom camps weaponize that instinct. They turn tents into traps, fires into lies, and silence into terror. And that is the final lesson. Before the first blade falls, the battlefield has already begun inside the mind. The army that wins that invisible war often wins the visible one too. Phantom camps were not just tricks of survival. They were laboratories of fear, where commanders learned how to invade the enemy's certainty and make doubt do the killing for them. If you want more brutal strategy, dark history, and warfare dissected with no mercy, stay with Vanguard Logic. Subscribe for more.